chapter 18, Brain Energy. Contributing cause, love, adversity, and purpose in life. I enjoyed this one.
All right.
So
I'll let you have.
he's kind of, he's talking about their role in brain energy and mitochondria, and the environment includes many things: food, shelter, temperature, light, infections, allergens, and lifestyle choices, some of which we've covered. But it also includes people, experiences, love, and purpose in life. And that is so true.
Yeah. And purpose is huge. Oftentimes when someone is severely depressed, you get that they're on that hamster wheel, right? It's not just a chemical imbalance, hey, something's wrong. They often in times in their life don't have that feeling of giving back, or a career that they love, or people in their life that they're looking after. I think that you've mentioned about being a father before as the most rewarding job in the world.
I dig it. Yep.
And if that was the only thing that you did, and you have so many other things that you do with purpose and, spirit, if that was the only thing you do, that'd be enough. But a lot of people don't have any of that.
Mike,
that's sad.
Really cool human beings, right? And
wish I could say that.
If I had a bunch of turds.
My little turds are listening right now.
No, it's so, I totally enjoy it. In fact, the wife and daughter are going out of town tonight, and me and Everett, my 14-year-old, we're going to hang out. I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe find some MMA to watch, or, but it's going to be a dude's night.
Nice.
Al Bundy and Bundy Jr.
Nice.
Hand in the pants. Remote control,
Good for you.
So,
sounds like fun.
So he goes on, he kind of opens the chapter with a use it or lose it, and he equates it to muscle and muscular atrophy and muscle growth, that you use it, it gets bigger, stronger, develops more mitochondria. You don't use it, he even talks about, athletes that have to get a cast or something, it atrophies. Fewer mitochondria means less energy production, ATP.
I like that. When the body isn't using something, it diverts metabolic resources from it.
Away from it. Yeah.
From it. And mentioned even the cast, right? If you break a bone, break a leg. I remember this from breaking my leg a few times when I was younger. You get a cast on your leg and you got muscles and everything. 6 weeks later, you got nothing. I mean, it's skin and bones. I mean,
right.
What I thought was interesting is he mentions bodybuilders that, the more in shape and everything you were before, the faster the muscles, the faster it recovers. So, I mean, bodybuilders, if you break an arm, they have atrophy just like anybody else, but it comes back faster than others.
And just as strong as before.
So,
so he does kind of talk about how this correlates to the brain, and the different parts of the brain do different things. But he says that in order for the brain to develop properly, it needs two things: normal brain development to acquire and store the information, and learning experience from other humans, at which point he kind of goes into the story about Romanian orphans, right?
And how, that was
They were neglected. They all developed a ton of mental illnesses.
Right.
And
the whole, I mean, you got to really, somebody's got to give an effort. I mean, it's society in general, right? We can sit back and look at society and we go, we're not out there helping other people, and then we complain that society is the dumpster fire that it is. Well, that's because nobody's giving back. It's all take, right?
Yeah. And his point, I guess, is that these kids, the brains didn't develop normally. They did not have those two things consistently. Therefore, it's the use it or lose it. They never were able to use it, and therefore it never developed, right? So he's just kind of making that correlation into...
And he says sometimes those can be corrected later in life, right? It's not
correct
necessarily the Romanians or kids are hopeless. There's some...
But it's hard. Yeah.
I liked his connection to ADHD and screen time for kids. I have children with ADHD, and that's one of the things that we preach in the house is put down the phone, put down the phone, put down the phone. Go out and do. Go out and do. Go out and play. Go out and exercise. Go out and have relationships. Go out and do versus screen time. And he makes the connection, not just from a screen time perspective, but one connection that I've never really made was that when you're in your screen, you're not learning patience, focus, concentration, relationship fixing. There's a whole ton of things. So if you have a kid who's sitting there and all they're doing is on the PlayStation 5, or if you have a kid that's in the videos and the phone and they're never ever getting, that's what we're losing with screen time in video games now. Is it used to be go outside and play from 8 to till sundown, and don't even come in for water, drink from the water hose, right?
Darn right, buddy.
And
we drank from the ditch.
When you think about that, how many interpersonal relationship pluses and minuses did you have with those kids in your neighborhood? I mean, sometimes you had good relationships, sometimes you had bad ones, but you tried to fix them. You tried to figure it out. And we're missing that sense of community now.
Yeah, no kidding. We used to drink from Poley Creek. Poley Creek that runs all the way out the west side of Lakeland? It's a glorified running ditch.
Thirsty.
But I guess it was fed with clean water from somewhere, So he moves out of the use it or lose it. He jumps into stress. He's already talked about stress at pretty deep levels in this book. The piece that I think is interesting, you kind of highlighted it in the use it or lose it, but stress puts cellular maintenance functions on hold. Basically, when you're stressed, the body is diverting attention to deal with that stressor. And therefore, it's neglecting
a lot of other things.
Right.
I thought, and I've mentioned this before, some of the top stressors, the death of a spouse, family member, divorce, personal injury, getting fired, and even retiring. Back in my financial planning days, that was the most interesting thing that I've ever seen personally. I used to have clients that I would start with. I had an 18-year career in financial planning, so I would see people from the point the point they first saw me all the way up to the point of retiring, and that point of retiring was 2 years prior. They're like, I'm ready to retire. 2 years from now is the date, and you could see the stress on these people's faces.
Yeah.
Holy cow, I can't wait to retire. I can't, this job is dragging me down. And then as they inched closer to retirement, their face lit up, right? But they were worried about their past job, that is somebody going to be able to do it? I mean, there was that feeling.
Doesn't that tie into the very next section in the book?
Oh, the purpose
in life.
The purpose in life.
When you've been doing one thing productively for so long, I mean,
yeah, it was almost depression, going into depression upon retirement. It went from stress of I hate this job to depression. I don't want to leave this job.
Right.
Why are you guys making me leave?
Right. I've done it so long.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's bizarre that you could watch that metamorphosis go on, but people are humans. I mean, that's what they do. So purpose in life. Go ahead.
So this was really interesting. He opens with, the main things to help find purpose is relationships, taking care of yourself and staying healthy, and having a job. He then goes into a story about an Austrian psychiatrist that was captured during World War II, and he basically studied all the other captives and the guys who held out hope and were hopeful that they would be rescued, versus the guys who fell into deep states of depression. He made the correlation that the guys that held hope had something very strong to live for: young children, a beautiful wife, a job waiting for them back at home. I guess he went on to develop a psychotherapy called logotherapy that is, quote, many of its tenets are still embedded in current mainstream psychotherapy. So, that sense of purpose and how it can can mold and drive our behavior and mood. And
he goes on to say that people with the lowest sense of purpose in life were 2.5 times more likely to die an early death than those with a strong purpose in life.
Yeah.
I don't know how you calculate that, but
I don't either.
Is that excess mortality, death from not things that are caused, but they see all-cause mortality. I mean, that's cardiovascular events. It's a ton of different things. There was a 2016 study of 136,000 patients found that having a higher sense of purpose in life was associated with reduced all-cause mortality and cardiovascular events. It's pretty powerful. But yeah, I mean, it's.
Yeah, he says
he talks about religion and God and spirituality. People that have a strong faith are 90% less likely to develop depression than others. Again, something to look forward to, something to think about, there's a higher purpose going on right there.
Yeah. And he kind of then goes into, how to address these things with treatment. We can kind of plow through these really quick if you want. There's psychotherapy. It's some of it resolving conflict, changing behaviors. A lot of that makes sense. I think the piece that stuck out for me on psychotherapy was it may be as simple as a relationship with a compassionate and helpful human being. If you are moving through life without one really good, healthy relationship, go find a psychotherapist, because the idea that treatment could be that simple, it's saddening to me, that there may be people out there that don't have one healthy relationship. Right. Call me, email us, snackcast@yes.fit.
We'll get an email of it.
Right. I mean,
Scott will talk to you.
For sure. I'm an unlicensed practitioner in the...
Just don't take too much time.
Spiritual arts.
No, you get 10 minutes a day.
Right.
But I highlighted this, and this sums it up. We all need other people. I mean, you can't go through this Ferris wheel by yourself, man. It's hard.
Yeah, even what's his name, Hadda Wilson, the volleyball.
There you go. This next one is psychedelic therapy. It's one that I know, done some research. I know Rogan has talked about it a lot.
I'm not going to go into great detail here because I think it could be a series of Snackcasts in and of itself. But I think it's shameful that our government and Big Pharma has cut us off from the potential benefits of psychedelic therapy, which is largely natural. We know.
In some cases biblical, right?
Some cases biblical. There's theories that the burning bush was actually the Iacacia, which is a psychedelic bush. I say psychedelic bush. It has
psychedelic properties to it.
Yeah, if the bush was psychedelic, that'd be.
But I mean, peyote and some of these other. I mean, they have been around a very, very, very long time.
Psilocybin is mushrooms. There's DMT. There's clinics in Mexico that are literally healing people of decades of mental illness.
You remember Young Guns? We're in the spirit world. Yeah. But I mean, I didn't make the connection there, but those experiences he calls are deeply spiritual and deeply religious.
Mystical type, spiritual, religious, existential, transformative, pivotal, or peak.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection of why this might be so successful. And
some people say you're touching God. You're touching, divinity.
Right.
It's deep. I could go on for hours.
There's tons of treatment centers like Mexico that specialize in this. Scott said maybe we'll do a Snackcast on these. These would be interesting to go down.
So stress reduction, that's fairly obvious. He does move into rehabilitation programs. And what I found interesting there is he correlates back to the use it or lose it. He says current research suggests they aren't very effective, rehab centers. This is likely because brain function was not restored first, use it or lose it. If people are trying to do tasks when their brains aren't working properly, they're being set up for failure. It's like an athlete trying to run a marathon with a torn ligament. You got to fix the brain energy first, then you can rehabilitate. Yep. And he theorizes that you would see much more success if they did it that way. instead of just trying to teach new behaviors.
He discussed exercise a little bit. I know that we can talk about that, but exercise, relaxation, R&R.
Yeah.
There was a bunch on rest and relaxation and how that can help. Different, Tai Chi, yoga, exercise, and going for a long walk. I mean, we've talked about exercise and mitochondria a lot. And again, this is that point where, one of the most stressful times in my life was when I was negotiating my buyout from Raymond James, right? I mentioned that to you before. And at that point, it wasn't even that point. I want to say it was 2007, 2008, when the market was falling apart.
Right.
The whole economy was falling apart. I was doing 5-6 meetings a day with clients who were pissed off, and it was hard. It was very, very stressful. And, one of the things that helped me out is I figured out, I was actually training for a half Ironman at the time. And one of the things I figured out was if I got my workout in that morning, the rest of the day was fairly easy. And I was training hard. It was 2 to 3 hours of workout. I'd get up at 3 a.m. and I'd work out till 6. And then I'd go on and have my day. And I found that when I did that, my day was a heck of a lot less stressful. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to found YesFit. I mean,
right.
I was like, this is stuff that people ought to know, right?
Right.
How to get through life when it's really difficult.
Yeah. So he does go, we'll close it out real quick. We keep getting in trouble because we're going too long. Even Jerry's sitting over here doing this right now. Let's go. Close it. He does close out with a case study. I didn't find it very interesting. It's a girl who dealt with a bunch of stuff, and she finds Pilates, and she starts coaching Pilates, and
she's doing exercise every day, and
through exercise,
remarkably getting better.
Purposeful intent of helping others. Yeah,
it's a nice story.
It was a good story. It was a good story.
It just didn't have any pow.
Right. So that's it, guys. Questions, comments, concerns, or if you need a friend, snackcast@yes.fit.
Stay moving.
See ya.